Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. As you know that I already had started the chapter birth. It is chapter number 7 from snapshots, and already I discussed at length few of the important section from this story. As you know that Dr. Andrew Mansion desperately he tried to save the life of the child. Now whether he is able to save the life of the child or not, in order to know that, dear students, we have to go on reading the final segment of this chapter. And as you know that Susan Morgan and Joe Morgan, they are about to have their first child after almost 2 decades of marriage. Now Susan Morgan, after she gave birth to the child, her health deteriorated, but it was Andrew who at a fraction of a second gave an injection to save the life of Susan Morgan. Now the important thing is that whether he will be able to save the life of the child or not, that is a big question. And another important thing is that the child is not making any movement at all, neither the child is crying. It is said that the child has been born lifeless or stillborn. Now let's see whether Andrew will be successful to save the life of the child or not. So now I am moving on to the final segment, and let's start. And then, as by a miracle, the pygmy chest, which his hands enclosed, gave a short convulsive heave, another and another. Andrew turned giddy. Now it is there might be a sign of life can be seen. So Andrew became more and more serious, and Andrew went on trying desperately to save the life of the child. The sense of life springing beneath his fingers, after all that unavailing striving, was so exquisite it almost made him faint. Slowly and slowly, a sign of life can be seen in case of this newborn child. So when Andrew saw a glimpse of hope, Andrew became more desperate. Andrew became more desperate to save the life of the child. So I repeat this line, dear students. The sense of life springing beneath his fingers after all that unavailing striving. Striving means that hard labor, that hard toil that was given by Andrew. After all those hard labor throughout the midnight, till the first hour of sunlight, till the first streak of dawn, all this striving, now ultimately it is getting successful. Andrew is getting success for his striving effort that he made in order to save the life of the child. So I repeat, the sense of life springing beneath his fingers after all that unavailing striving was so exquisite it almost made him faint, and out of happiness, out of success, because everyone thought, the midwife, then Susan Morgan, septuagenarian, that is 70-year-old mother, thought that it is impossible for this stillborn child to have life because the child was born lifeless. But it was Andrew who was very, very hopeful, who was very optimistic that no, I can save the life of the child, went on in a frantic effort to save the life of the child. And when the pygmy means the small chest of the child is responsive to the treatment, to the medical treatment that was being given by Andrew, Andrew was feeling very happy. Out of happiness, he was getting a bit unconscious also. So I repeat, the sense of life springing exquisite, it almost made him faint. He was getting unconscious for that, out of happiness. He redoubled his efforts. He went on trying more because he found that a hint of life. And whenever he found that there is a possibility that the child might survive, he went on redoubling his efforts. He went on redoubling in his efforts, knowing the fact that if I go on striving more and more, then definitely I can save the life of the child. He redoubled his efforts feverishly, almost like a mad person, desperate person. He went on trying feverishly, means almost desperately. The child was gasping now, slowly and slowly. The child is now gasping, about to take some breath, deeper and deeper, and it is very intense also. Slowly and slowly, there is a sign of life that can be seen in case of the child. A bubble of mucus came from one tiny nostril. So a bubble of mucus came from his one of his nostril, or one of the nostril, one of the part of the nostril of the child. A bubble of mucus came out. That is a hint that there is sign of life in the case of the small child. So I repeat, the child was gasping now, deeper and deeper. A bubble of mucus came from one tiny nostril. A joyful iridescent bubble. It was a simple bubble, but according to Andrew, it was something related with excitable one, enjoyable one, joyful one. The limbs are no longer boneless. The limbs seemed to be boneless previously, but now it seems that everything is getting on life, because life is very important. The limbs that were considered boneless, now it is not looking boneless anymore. The head no longer lay back spinelessly. The blackened or the blunt skin was slowly turning pink. Okay, the skin that was looking blunt or pale previously, now it is turning into pink. Then exquisitely came the child's cry. Now this is something, this is the ultimate success of a pain striving labor. And what is that? Slowly and slowly the child went on crying. The cry of the child. This is the ultimate victory that Andrew was waiting for after a long hard struggle for almost 3 to 4 hours, starting from almost 3:15 or 3:30 midnight till the very first hour of the morning dawn. So it was a long hard struggle, but ultimately this is the victory for which Andrew was striving. So that is the reason I told you, dear students, in my very first lecture related with this particular chapter, that not only this chapter is related with the birth of a child after long painstaking effort that was been made by Dr. Andrew, but also it is related with the birth of a doctor, because he is a newly came out of medical school. He is fresh out of medical school. He doesn't have that much of experience as his senior doctor Edward Page has, but still he was very courageous, he was very determined, and finally when everyone had lost all hope, including the 70-year-old mother of Susan Morgan as well as the midwife, but it was Andrew who was resolute enough, who was determined enough, who was courageous enough that no, I will fight on, I will fight till the very end. And obviously he went on doing the water therapy sessions, putting the child in the hot water basin and again in the cold water basin, and finally when the bubble of mucus came from one of the tiny nostrils of the child, Andrew's enjoyment of his long hard success that he achieved knew no bounds. He was very, very happy. So I repeat, the blunt skin was slowly turning pink. Then exquisitely came the child's cry, and obviously when the child went on crying, it is totally alive. That means the medicine or the treatment, the medicinal treatment as was being done by Andrew, finally successfully the child responded to it, and with the cry of the child there is a glimpse of hope that is now gaining momentum more and more, that the child will be alive in the hours to come, because the child went on crying. Dear Father in heaven, that means here the nurse is referring to Jesus Christ. Dear Father in heaven, the nut sobbed hysterically. It's come alive. It's like a miracle. But in medical science, miracle happens every now and then. We call it miracle, but the doctors say miracles happen in medical science. Though it looks something very strange to us, when we lose all hope, sometimes miracle happens in the world of medicinal treatment. And a miracle happens here also, that the midwife, the nurse, who had already decided to lose all hope and put the child under those sodden newspapers from where Andrew had picked it up, and then the child responded to the medical treatment that was being given to the small child or the infant child by Andrew. And after the long hard struggle, when the child went on crying, Andrew's joy knew no bounds, and the nurse, who thought that everything was over, but Andrew thought no, everything was not over. Andrew was very hopeful and optimistic, but the nurse was not. But now when the child went on crying, he decided to have faith on the doctor. Previously, she decided to have faith on the doctor. Previously, she had no faith, but now she decided to have faith on the man, that is, on Andrew. Dear Father in heaven, the nut sobbed hysterically. It's come alive. So finally, it is alive. It has come alive. So dear students, in this audio presentation, I stop right now here. In my next audio presentation, I will go on and complete the final part of this story. Thank you, students. Thank you all.